All right, start. All right, are you ready? We're going to have 5 questions. All right, let's see. The, the word which best describes... Oh, no, no, no. Go back, go back. Oh. Ah, there we are. Here we are. The 4 possible answers are
ecosystem, ecosystem, or Lego system.
Okay. And you have to choose one.
Go, 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 go.
Go, go, go. Oh.
Time's up.
All right. Okay. So there we have. Very interesting. We have 2 answers for the ecosystem. Very good. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Oh, what? Oh, so there's speeds involved in this as well. So who's fast on the finger? All right, next question.
Who of the following individuals is considered the founding father of the internet? Albert Einstein, Bertrand Russell, Windsurf, or Bill Gates?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, very good. All right, we have
one Bertrand Russell and 4 of Bill Gates.
Oh, Lina is leading, huh?
Wow, very good. So very competitive. All right. Oh, hello, Christina. Welcome.
Speed is important. If you can press it, then it's counted only, not only the right answer.
Yeah. It's speed and accuracy. Let's go. Next one. The acronym WSIS stands for Working Summit on the Information Society, Western Summit on the Information Society, World Summit on the Information Society, or World Summit on the Internet Society. Great.
Uh-oh.
Very good. Very interesting. We have, so World Summit on the Internet Society. Chris now in the lead. Very nice. Taking
now you're
over
happy
Lina.
you have your name on, right?
All right, very cool. Let's go on to the next one. All right, who is ICANN's current CEO?
Fadi Shahadi, Ban Ki-moon, Goran Marby, or Nigel Hickson? We're sorry, he's not here.
We were hoping Nigel's going to be here. He's not. Oh, very good. Wow.
Okay, Nigel got 2. Nigel.
So the correct answer was Goran Marby. All right.
Chris.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. Secret.
Represent.
Wow, where's the secret? All right, let's go on to the 5th and last question.
The right to be forgotten refers to the right to be forgiven, users' right to be de-indexed from internet search results, the right to forget bad relationships, or the right to have past criminal records forgotten and forgiven. I don't know why I got confused on that one. Okay.
Whoever chose the last one. And the winner of this fantastic game is Chris. Round of applause for everyone, for Chris. And also to everyone else who's participated. Yes, thanks so much. Yeah, Chris, you find out tonight in the disco. In the disco. All right, fantastic. Okay. All right, okay. Now that we got ourselves... Johan, why don't you join us here and sit? Thank you so much. If you don't mind, we'll stay standing. All right. So this session, for those of you who have joined a little bit late, is called Your Internet Governance Ecosystem is Out of Date. Please check for updates. So the aim of this session is twofold. By the end of the session, we'd like everyone to leave with a better understanding of the current internet governance landscape and the priority issues. And then as in the second part of the session, what we're going to try and do and try to get everyone to leave the session with a little bit of hope about how some of these issues could be resolved. What we're going to do and how the session is going to be split, we're going to start with a bit of setting the scene from our key discussants who are going to be invited to provide some introductory remarks, after which we will split the room into smaller working groups to work on specific priority issues where you will be asked to address 3 questions which we will hand out and then report back.
That's right. And during our panelists, while they're talking, we will try to identify the emerging issues, but also you are welcome to join anytime if you have
Raise your hand
yeah.
in case you want to speak. All right. So what we're going to start with, in setting the scene, if that's okay, is give the word first over to Dominique Lazansky. Dominique, if you could introduce yourself and give us a sense of what were the main internet governance issues that have happened in the last year. 2015 has been a big year for internet governance. So if you can give everyone a kind of a summary of what you think the main developments have been.
Thank you. If I can remember them. My name is Dominique Lazansky. I am a public policy director at the GSMA, which is the Mobile Industries Trade Association. I focus on internet governance and cybersecurity policy. And I'm also an IGF MAG member in my 2nd year. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of different events from last year. And I think all of you probably know the biggest and probably most lengthy event and process in general that went on was the WSIS Plus 10 review, which I was thinking about today, actually. It's 1 year exactly to the day that we were in New York to start the process, and there was an experts meeting as well as an open meeting, so it's been exactly a year. And it ended, as many of you know, in December with a high-level event and a high-level statement after much negotiations and discussions. But an important feature of that particular process is that all stakeholders were invited to attend and participate in open sessions of that meeting. So that's sort of the common strand, I think, that really took us through 2015. It was specific to 2015 as well. There were other institutionally specific events. I'm just going to highlight a few that we talked about earlier, actually. And again, if you also think there's anything missing, I'd be grateful at the end of all of this to feedback. So the Global Group of Experts had met previously, but also there was a statement and a review, and a number of countries responded to the review. This is a meeting, basically this is a group of experts focused on cybersecurity within the UN. And Leah also reminded me that there was a counterterrorism meeting that also took place at the UN during the high-level session, or at the same time concurrently. Also, I just want to highlight there were ongoing ITU meetings in addition to study group meetings, and the World Radio Conference Council Working Group Internet met last year and will meet again this year as well. The ITU also co-convened the WSIS Forum, which it does every year, with 3 other UN institutions, and that met actually in May last year. Also, UNESCO, one of the co-conveners of the WSIS Forum, had a conference in March called Connecting the Dots, and there was, you might remember, a report out from that sort of on social good and social benefits of the internet. There was also an OECD report as well, a social compact report focusing on privacy and security, but with a lot of internet issues involved in that. So last year, in addition to WSIS Plus 10 ongoing processes, IGF had its 10-year anniversary. And as many of you know, the remit, the mandate for the IGF was renewed at the WSIS high-level event and in that statement, but it was also the 10-year anniversary, and it took place in Brazil. In April, earlier in the year, the Netherlands hosted the Global Conference on Cyberspace, focused again on cybersecurity. And the Hague welcomed all of us there. It's the 3rd in a long process called the London process, and at that was announced the GFCE, which is a capacity building matching program. Also ongoing is the WEF Future of the Internet, as well as the Global Commission on Internet Governance. Both of these groups actually continue and have had reports out on various topics. And then we cannot forget the ongoing and still ongoing IANA transition. And a lot of you were involved in quite a lot of work in that last year. And finally, I'm just going to touch upon development issues related to the internet. Again, WSIS Plus 10 focused quite a lot on access and a number of different issues and challenges for the developing and underdeveloped world. But also in September last year, we have the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, were published. And as many of you know about this as well, they're really important in terms of underpinning, access and human rights as well, and a wide variety of issues, but they don't actually focus on ICT or internet specifically, but they do, and in the case of GSMA, they are underpinning the work that we do, and they're quite important for us. And then finally, Jovan reminded me the World Bank had a good report out last year on digital dividends, again focusing on the developing and underdeveloped world. So that's my overview. I might have missed something, but if I have I missed anything?
We have Nick. Do you want to?
Wait, just
wait a
for the
second.
mic, just 1 second. What was that?
RightsCon met last year, and so did actually the Freedom Online Coalition as well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Freedom Online Coalition and this year taking place in Costa Rica will be really interesting. And then obviously, RightsCon, which is, one of the only civil society focused or like organized event that is multi-stakeholder that tackles a lot of these issues at the intersection. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
next,
Well, is there anything else that people would like
Did
to
I
add
miss?
about, exactly, last year, 2015, anything else that Dominique may have missed that, struck you as important? All right, so we're going to go on to, thank you so much, Dominique. We're going to move on to Jovan. Jovan, if you could introduce yourself and give us a sense, like, what's coming up? What's happening? We heard from Dominique what's happened last year, but where is the landscape going? Which direction are we moving in? What are the priority issues that you identified?
Oh, before that, let's give just a little bit of priority, if that's okay with you, Jovan, to remote
I'm always for remote.
participants.
Just a short comment from Twitter. Nice game for first workshop on IG ecosystem, and congrats to Ed Bakker for his win.
That's your reward. You're on Twitter.
Okay. Is that it, Oksana?
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Jovan, take it away.
Well, I guess that I'm privileged to have such a great topic to speak about the future. And about future, you have quite a bit of freedom. And I heard that I'm privileged because I'm only male on this gender unbalanced panel. And congratulations for hosting it. Well, future is a great theme. It's sort of a crystal ball exercise, but we'll try to make it a bit more down to earth, if you can say, extrapolation on the issues that Dominic outlined in the main discussion. One possible angle to discuss the future is to see what are the needs, policy needs, on different levels. And starting from that, we can address the question of priority issues for the future. Now, the starting assumption is that individuals, companies, cities, governments will need to address their policy pressing issues. They cannot be just satisfied with the explanation that internet is different, that we should treat it differently. They have very concrete issues. And we already saw it in Europe with the European Court of Justice ruling, where basically individuals, when they couldn't find legal redress in other way, went to European Court of Justice. We have right to be forgotten ruling, we have a ruling on the Facebook, and there will be more rulings coming, not only in Europe. This is the first way of individuals addressing and exercising their right to justice. All of us have a right for legal redress. Therefore, there will be more and more pressure of courts moving into internet governance. For us around the table, this is a real challenge. Are we going to make proactive policy which is more balanced, nuanced, multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder, or shall we wait? I'm a lawyer, but shall we wait for lawyers to basically create internet governance through courts ruling, as it is currently the case with the right to be forgotten, where we have Google, in a way, forced to deal with 500,000 cases or requests per year. Second needs which is increasingly emerging on policy scene, in particular in Europe, is that the municipal authorities, companies, are trying to find a way how to exercise their duties and responsibilities in the internet field. Practically speaking, new economy, and all of us are using it, whether it is Uber or aware of it, or Airbnb or other services, are basically shifting the economic activities from the local communities in Europe and worldwide to online space. We have very practical issues. Who is going to pay for the maintenance of the roads, let's say in Paris, in Brussels, in Geneva, you name it, New Delhi? Is Uber contributing to the global public good, which they use in order to generate the funding? In Barcelona, we have very, very lively debate about Airbnb. Are they contributing to local economy? Therefore, there will be increasing pressure from the authorities, local authorities and companies to find some solution, whether it is a question of taxation, very often. Again, we have two options: to be proactive and to find the balanced policy, or these people will use the right of self-defense. They will act and they will simply grab whatever portion of the policy making. Third field is related to governments. Cyber is a part of the critical infrastructure. Governments worldwide, for different reasons, cannot afford to be basically out of the way how cybersecurity issues are addressed. And we heard from Dominic, there is UN group of government experts, there are different bodies, OSCE, which are trying to find a way for governments to, in a way, fill this gap. Again, we have two options. We have anarchy as a possibility, where everybody will put cyber arms up and try to protect its interests. Or we, as, well, I would say rational beings and civilized community, can sit around the table and address the concerns of different countries. Therefore, on three levels, individual, municipal or organizational, and country levels, we have a strong demand for some solutions. In the forthcoming period, we'll have to address this demand. Bad news is that there is a high level of confusion. And there was, for all of you who answered the ecosystem, not echo and not ego, internet governance is to the large extent ecosystem. There is a lot of rhetorics, there is a lot of echoing, there is a lot of different use of prefixes, cyber, digital net, and a lot of confusion. Now, it's not just the matter of academic pedantry, it's a question that governments, international organizations, cannot efficiently address internet governance issues. I just came recently from visit to Indonesia and the other Asian countries, when there is basically one government department is dealing with the digital, cyber, and net. And very often you have a similar issues covered from different angles. You have it in Geneva, you have it in most governments that we at Diplo have been analyzing and doing research. There is a confusion what it is all about. What is cyber diplomacy? What is digital diplomacy? What is e-diplomacy? We deal with diplomatic issues. Therefore, there is a huge confusion and potential risk that we can spend days, months, basically trying to translate or having a lot of discussions and debates lost in translation. Therefore, 3 points. First, demand is rising. We have to provide the answers, and we have to deal with the question of lost in translation when it comes to digital policy.
Thank you, Jovan. So I'm trying to map some issues here. We will come back to them just a bit later, but now I would like to invite Megan Richards. Megan, please, if you could just briefly introduce yourself and give it away.
Yes, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to be here at EuroDIG. I'm from the European Commission. I'm a principal advisor and I'm responsible for internet governance writ large, which covers a very large area. So I thought it might be useful to put this, perhaps since we're at EuroDIG, in a more European context. Dominique has mentioned some of the global issues, and Jovan is looking to the future in a general way. I don't mean that you're not specific in your proposals, but not specifically to Europe. And what does it mean for Europe? Well, one thing that Europe has been very active in, and I'm sorry to start with IANA and ICANN accountability on the very first point, but it's something that Europe has been calling for a number of years. We have council conclusions on it. We have comments in commission communications, etc. So I think this is something which, for the multi-stakeholder approach for internet governance, is something that Europeans have been very active in, have participated extremely actively in all the discussions and in the proposals that have gone forward. This is an area where, and we're hoping that the transition will go through and go through in a timely manner, I think where Europeans could also make a very useful contribution to the next stage, to putting the transition into action, to participating actively in the empowered community, to making sure that this transition works well and is meeting all the ethical and other criteria that go along with the process. So that's an area where I think we have a continued responsibility, obligation, interest, and I'm sure that people will continue to work on that. That's one area. The other, of course, is, as Dominique has said too, we now are in a position where a new mandate for another 10 years of the IGF has been established. I mentioned it this morning that this is the first EuroDIG that has an opportunity to feed into the first year of the new round of IGF. So I think we have also an opportunity here to really focus perhaps on some really outstanding issues that are particular interest here and importance here, which of course go far beyond European borders, but perhaps we can put some refinements or clarifications on some of the issues we're doing here, which will help at global level to clarify the problems, identify solutions, etc. So in that sense, I'm counting very much on the EuroDIG process to help with this, as well as, of course, the many activities that go on either nationally or sub-regionally, for example, the Southeast European Dialogue on Internet Governance, etc. So I think there we can also make a lot of progress. With respect to other related issues, of course, in the European Union, and this of course goes beyond the European Union because we have the EEA countries who participate, EFTA to a certain extent. Some of the neighboring countries also participate and follow the legislative procedures that take place in Europe. We have the Digital Single Market Initiative and strategies. We have a whole series of issues that are being addressed there. It's clear that the European initiatives with respect to 5G, which again go far beyond European borders, where we have collaborations with China, Korea, India, United States, etc., are going to be something that we can really work on both from a technical point of view, from a public policy point of view, including civil society concerns, etc. So I think this is another area where we can work together. Internet of Things, another area where I think in Europe we have been leading is perhaps an unfortunate word, but very active in identifying this as an area of particular interest where we have to really address all the technical public policy, civil society, standardization issues, and make some clear identification of issues and potential ways of resolving them. And again, this is also being addressed in part in the digital single market strategy. I could list a long list of other issues, but I think also just to wrap up and give sort of an overall flavor to all of this, I think is something relating to what I'm going to call European values of human rights, protection of human rights, freedom of expression, the usual standards that we uphold and I think are very important to continue in all our discussions on internet governance and in this new digital economy and society. So I think that's something we should keep in the back of our minds as we're going forward.
Thank you very much. So I would like to thank once again to our panelists, and we were trying to map a little bit here what we've heard. So far we have cybersecurity, development, access, jurisdiction, regulation, critical internet resources, digital single market, and Internet of Things. And from what thank you, Serena. I just wanted to say that it is important, since Megan, thank you for mentioning Southeastern Europe, since we want to hear some voices and what's happening there, since now we have a lot of national IGF initiatives and then sub-regional initiatives. So Serena, if you could give us some update from this region. Thank you.
Thank you also, Aida, and thank you, Megan, for mentioning CEDIG. I don't want to go into details about CEDIG. We have a flash session just after this session, so if you want to hear more about our sub-regional initiative, you are invited to join. I only wanted to add to this discussion about internet governance issues to bring the perspective of Southeastern Europe, a bit of it. We did a survey at CEDIG trying to understand a bit how the internet governance community in our region sees internet governance, mechanisms, processes, issues. And we got some pretty interesting results. And one of the questions we asked was about the most challenging internet governance issues that people in the region feel the region actually shares. And I will read to you the results of the survey. The large majority of the people said that the main challenge in the region is still digital divide in its various dimensions. Then we have privacy and data protection, cybersecurity and cybercrime, and then with lower percentages, availability of local content, IDNs, which you know is rather specific to our region. And we also got some specific examples. There was a space for people to indicate something that was not in the form. Network neutrality, freedom of expression, and other human rights issues online. And the matter of transparency in internet governance processes, openness, accountability, collaboration between stakeholders, apparently that's a challenge in our region. Engagement of the various stakeholders, both in national processes and then in pan-European and global. And the need for more awareness raising and capacity building as another issue for our region to consider when it comes to internet governance. That's in short what I wanted to say. And again, you are kindly invited to our flash session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sorina. And I think we have a remote participant who wanted to make a comment. Oksana, please.
Yes, there is a lot of comments from Samantha Dickinson. Hashtag. It's from Twitter. Okay. Yes, but
are there
sorry.
any questions, Oksana, from remote?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So just as Aida said, we're trying to pick up on some of the issues to help us frame the rest of the session. And some of the, this is not a perfect taxonomy, so if we could just say that like this is not the, I don't think I'm not even sure that exists. Jovan, you're the expert here. If we start talking about taxonomies, we're all going to...
as an issue.
As an issue, problem, taxonomies. But to help us think through kind of what the priority issues are, we have a laundry list here. But what we would like to do, have smaller groups discuss and go a little bit deeper into each of these issues. But to help us, rather than having 10, if we could come up with 4 and agree which 4 we would we could go deeper into. I don't know if the key discussants kind of see any themes. If I may suggest, definitely to keep cybersecurity or security issues as one group, and perhaps access, digital divide and development, and have that as a second group. I don't know, maybe Jovan, what do you think about the jurisdiction regulation one? How do we frame that so that it's clear what we're talking about? Would digital single market go there, or is that a completely separate thing, Megan? Yeah. Could we?
It's a bit broader because it includes also access, it includes cybersecurity, etc. But if you want, throw it in there, just to keep it, put it somewhere.
Jovan, do you have a suggestion of how to maybe kind of?
Well, we can frame it as the jurisdictional and regulatory challenges for digital single market. Not bad. Okay.
Good luck to that group. Good luck. You're going to be reporting. Yeah, absolutely.
I mentioned it slightly, but perhaps it was too obscure to be understood correctly. And when I talk about digital single market, it goes beyond just the European Union, of course. As I said, there's the EEA, but also neighboring countries. And one of the intentions and goals of the digital single market is to make it easier also for countries outside the European Union to trade with Europe. So please, when I say European Union, don't think that everyone else is excluded.
Thanks so much. I also think that what we're missing, and I heard on a couple of things, but we haven't really captured, is human rights. Sorina mentioned it, Megan, you mentioned it. And
Many times, yeah.
Yeah, it was, but free expression, privacy issues, I mean, that's all kind of one
Under one
issue
umbrella,
there.
yeah.
One what? Croatia, that is true, that is true. I am, by the way, Croatian, and that's why Jovan is saying this. He is Serbian, but we're great friends.
And then there's Bosnia.
We'll battle it out on the dance floor later tonight. All right, so suggestion. Given the number of people that we have in the room, if my inclination is to have 4 groups and have it in the four corners of these tables, and have people self-select where they want to go according to what interests you. If there is if there are a lack of interest in a group, we can ditch it. It's okay. It is about priority issues. If people are not interested in it, not a priority.
It
tells us something. And
yeah.
then if there are orphan people who feel that they're not represented in the 4 groups that I would like to put forward, they can form their own kind of rebel group and see if they can figure out their approach, guerrilla approach. So if you can tell me if you want to go in a different direction, but I would say cybersecurity and then have digital development as a second. We could have regulatory and jurisdictional issues connected to the digital single market under the third one, and I would like to suggest human rights as a fourth group, unless anyone objects to that or feels strongly about having critical internet resources and really wants to discuss that. Seeing none, I'm going to take silence as a...
1 time, 2 times. Jovan?
Jovan.
Since I gave the title of this strange, I'm going to moderate that group.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, no hands.
Okay, so what we will do now, and apologies to the remote participants, because obviously when we break into smaller groups, it will be difficult for them to follow. But we will wrap up at the end of the session, the last 15 minutes. What we would like to do now is invite each of you to, Aida will let you know which groups should go where. And we'll give you a list of 3 questions that you will be asked to address very clearly. If we can have 1 rapporteur per group to come back to us in the last 15 minutes of the session and let us know answers to those questions that are coming from the group. We have, before we break, Oksana, remote.
The answer from Vladak regarding participation of remote participants. Vladak proposed to organize their own group and ask somebody to moderate it.
Excellent, excellent.
Thank you, Vlada. Always useful to have him around, even remotely.
Remotely. Okay, so Jovan, you'll be the first one. If maybe you could stay here in this corner. So whoever is interested in the jurisdiction regulatory issues in the digital single market, if I may suggest they join Jovan.
Whatever you wanted to ask about this question, but you didn't dare to do it.
To ask. Now is your chance. And perhaps on this side, if we could have digital development, where Megan is sitting right now, so around our remote moderation, if that's okay. I don't know, Megan, if you want to take up any of the groups, if you want to join. Oh, fantastic. Excellent. And Dominique, you can do cybersecurity for us,
Great.
if that's okay.
Cybersecurity
in this over corner. There. And then in the last corner over there, we're going to have human rights.
Okay.
Human rights
So
over there.
cybersecurity versus human rights, interesting. So while you are still, I guess, thinking which group to join, just to, as last said, I will give you a piece of paper with 3 really, shall I say simple? Yeah, simple questions. It's going to make it easier for you to report back. So yeah, please just stretch a little bit, walk a little bit, choose your group.
You have until quarter to 4. And
Yeah.
we'll ask one rapporteur for each group to report back to let us know how what's come out of the discussion.
And Serena, if you feel like you could join a human rights group, maybe as a,
Maybe.
then you're gonna join.
All right. Thanks very much. We'll come back in I think about half an hour. In half an hour. Excellent.
Good luck, everyone. how can we do that? Ready for new quiz? They're ignoring me. Quiz? New quiz? No.
She's
Okay.
lying. She's lying. She's just trying to get you to.
Cyber is ignoring totally.
Okay. If the subgroups could wrap up, we'll ask the group rapporteurs to come to the front.
So I was really actually happy. I was walking around to see papers filling, and yeah, thank you for that. No empty papers.
Dobre su grupe, u stvari, veličina grupa je bila tolika. Da, upoznati smo. All right. Who do we... Who's the human rights rapporteur, human rights group?
So what we
rapporteur?
need now is rapporteurs to please join us here. Spotlight is here. That's why we're here.
Oh, is it going to be Sorina? Sorina, are
Serena?
you?
No? Okay, good. No.
Oh, Pierrick.
Great.
Very nice. Can I just make an interesting, well, to note something, which is the groups or the room has a. If I may call the room to order, Jovan, I mean seriously. All right.
Hijacking.
For those of you who haven't noticed, no one came to talk about development, digital development access. Sad face. So yeah, apparently that's well, at least for the participants in this room, that wasn't a priority. And I have to say, I've done a similar exercise in splitting a group in smaller groups, or a room in smaller groups, and I had a similar experience with so many people, and the majority of people going into the cybersecurity group, which happened here as well, which I thought was very interesting. All right. So to wrap up our session, if the rapporteur from each group could give us the answers to the questions that we've presented, if maybe they could just say what the question is and then go through them. Who wants to go first? Pierrick, do you wanna kick us off? Thank you.
Just check your mic.
Thank you. So from the human rights group, we okay, well, the first question is the problem statement. What is the issue that you are addressing? Please elaborate briefly explaining the issues. And we had a problem in that we noticed a number of problems in human rights. So a number of issues came up, and so first we thought that human rights were often seen as an afterthought, that they were separate from everything, and that the structure of the discussion in a way kind of represents that human rights should have been part of each and every group. We also noted that there's a shrinking space online for human rights, and that governments can now be more repressive and restrict the ability of people to enjoy their human rights online. We also noted how the operationalization of human rights can be difficult to fulfill online. We also noted the questions of anonymity and privacy, that they are in a way dual use concepts, that they can be good because they can empower people to exercise their human rights, but they can also be used to create human rights abuses, say through hate speech. We also noted mass surveillance as a big problem, essentially a big violation of human rights. And We also noticed that that within the broader spectrum of internet governance, some human rights issues get overshadowed. So if some are popular and some are less talked about, maybe say, for instance, the right to protest. We also were seeing how terms of services, in fact, that was discussed in the plenary up to a certain extent, have human rights implications, and they may not be come to the top of mind when we consider these issues. And finally, we also thought that non-state actors can now slip through laws and regulations and can therefore commit to human rights violations online. And so that's what our analysis of the situation was.
Thanks so much. Is there anything else from someone from that group would like to add to that? No, thanks so much, Pierik, for that summary. I think it was very interesting. Would you, I'm assuming that was just a problem statement, yes?
That's correct.
And now we're going to go to all the solutions for all of those problems. I'm
Yes.
so happy to hear. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So for the solutions, we really noted that education was a really big part of what we thought should be done. Education, it could be both general education on human rights, generally speaking. In Western countries, there might be a level of knowledge that might be higher than in other places, but this was still pointed out. We also focus specifically on the education of youth and young people. Digital skills and digital literacy, the concept of proper behavior, good, I guess you could say, online citizenship was noted as something that could be inculcated early on. We also thought that further developing and advocating for human rights-based approaches within internet governance. Our group believes that they're not quite yet mainstream, and so maybe in a way awareness raising was a solution here. And we also thought that promoting inclusion and genuine inclusion would be part of the solution. Right now, it's a bit bureaucratic the way it's done, and sometimes doesn't quite reflect the ethos of internet governance. Another more, I guess, functional question is the question of language also, because often internet stuff is in English, and that may be good for people who speak English, but that's not everybody. But we also noted that there was some positive evolution here. One of our group members mentioned how in Brazil, the IGF Brazil was developing an interesting youth program that included a youth observatory to promote youth participation in internet governance, if I got that right, I hope. And so, yeah, so it really, I think, boils down to education and awareness raising. And number 3, okay. So number 3, we essentially rejected the premise of the question because we felt that, in fact, it was just too big and difficult. There's a lot of varied contexts out there, especially in a national context, and so that there's the one solution to that kind of one-size-fits-all is not the right approach. And with the first point that we made also is that human rights as an afterthought, we kind of thought that, in a way, we should open this question to everybody in the room, because it's not just about human rights, it's about kind of baking in human rights into all the other aspects of internet governance. And so back to you.
So, yeah, does that mean you're not leaving the room?
Leaving the room, yeah. You're still here.
That's the premise of the last question. Well, thanks so much. Should we go
Dominique,
on to
you're next, yeah?
Dominique for subgroup? This was the subgroup on cybersecurity.
Yeah, thank you.
I see a lot of information over
And we
there.
have similar conclusions to you, so it's good. We'll kind of connect on that. So with the first point is the problem statement. So we had an actually really interesting discussion about sort of the mechanics of the debate, more than actually the specifics of the debate, at least initially. We brought up issues of language, not just use of language, but different types of languages, obviously, definitions, who the stakeholders are, stakeholder representation, and the difference in numbers in terms of which stakeholders are at the IGF. So for example, civil society tends to be growing in numbers, and government and law enforcement in particular, and also companies are shrinking. And so there was a lot of discussion about sort of what do we do in the debate, right? Like, so how do we actually make the debate happen? And then there was, we moved sort of on to the debate itself and on sort of issues. we had someone discuss the focus on cybersecurity tends to be a focus on national security, and that often prevents different stakeholders or turns away or intimidates, I guess is a word, different stakeholders from engaging. But then also we talked about definitions of cybersecurity. So we had someone from RIPE NCC said, and I'm not using names, but you know, his concern was that cybersecurity is about protecting the end user, whereas in other stakeholder communities, like the technical community, it's about specifically securing networks and sort of the technical aspects of that. And then obviously private sector has different definitions as well. So I think that covers a wide range of discussions that we had for the first point. Did I miss anything, anybody? So, okay.
Seems that was very vivid, and yeah, thank you so much. So who is the rapporteur for the... Oh, I'm sorry.
Other questions, yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it's okay. And it's interesting because I think there's themes emerging now in terms of engagement. So, so we just talked about potential solutions, which actually morphed into sort of the one thing you would do. So one of the key challenges that we sort of found, or at least I'm distilling that we found, was sort of an issue around identifying and understanding and knowing what the different initiatives are, right? So there's still very much a focus on national issues or national solutions because of jurisdictional issues, but also there's a lot of different groups and different organizations and different processes in parallel that are duplicative. And so we talked a lot about how that we can actually bring that together. I mean, there was some mentions a little bit about digital literacy, education, regulation, CSIRTs. We had an intervention from a remote participant on that point. But we talked in general about mapping and how a lot of people in different stakeholder groups don't know what's going on, which leads to our last point. I'll be very quick. No, it's okay. So one of the things we talked about was basically how we can come together and communicate with each other, but also is there a one-stop shop, or how does everything interrelate? But then we also discussed how do we change forums like this or the IGF in general from continuing to have the same discussion and moving the discussion forward. And then finally, the thing that relates to human rights is cybersecurity should not be versus human rights. We need to actually have an and a with human rights and have that discussion be closer. And in my opinion, personally, the uncomfortableness of that discussion needs to happen as well. So, okay, I think that's it. I hope I covered everything. So.
That was amazing. Thanks so much, Dominique. Jovan, would you
No,
like to
I
give a
will,
recap?
Shall I start
Of
with
your-
conclusion? We concluded to open the working group, which will follow up on our intensive discussion, and have a retreat in the lovely Neum village in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Okay, good. Okay, it's not village, huh? Small town, huh? Okay. Good. On more serious note, we basically started discussion following the introductory statements, and here are a few points. Now, since I'm probably biased in you should intervene. We basically ask how should juridical and regulatory solutions support digital developments in Europe and beyond, mainly in economy. We agree that they more or less agree that individual entities and countries do not have a place where they can address their concerns, grosso modo. Those places exist in traditional way, but online interaction confuse them, basically, and magnify the problems. We have a fiscal problems. Recently, we followed Panama Papers issue. It existed even in pre-internet era, but internet era makes those issues even more difficult to address. Then we basically listed some issues. Then we moved to the potential existing solutions, and then we discussed question of spillover, policy spillover. Is it okay if European policy or any other country creates a spillover to the other countries? And this is the reality of the global policy, and that's nothing special. But we also argue, and this is interesting argument, that European spillover could be beneficial for the world for the few reasons. Because of the core values that Europe promotes, review of human rights, democracy, inclusion. Therefore, that spillover could be useful for the rest of the world. There was another point. Europe is probably the last strong public policy institution which, due to its sheer size, of 500 internet users can exercise some sort of power over the other players, mainly internet industry. Then we came with the metaphor, European Jiu-Jitsu. Is anyone a specialist for Jiu-Jitsu? No, or Judo. The argument developed in the following way. What is considered as European weakness are the long policy processes of consultations, and you know, it's urban stories and in Brussels, how long time people spend in consultations and meetings. Now, if you want to have inclusion, you need to have consultations. Therefore, there are no, you cannot have it both ways. To have efficient policy and to have inclusive, it's very difficult to have it. Now, European Union weakness, if I can put it in inverted commas, is that it has a long processes. Can Europe turn its, in inverted commas, weakness into advantage by basically creating global digital policy, inclusive, with involvement of different stakeholders? Therefore, in a way, turning its weakness into its advantage on the global policy making. And this is interesting food for thought. We get a few examples from Netherlands about effective multi-stakeholder participation, that it works in practice. And it's not only question of the value as inclusion, but it's very practical because people consider those decisions to be legitimate. This is another question. Legitimacy of multi-stakeholder process through the quality of decisions. I see Samantha is laughing because she's preparing the workshop on legitimacy in IG for the next IGF. But the question that I've been asking, and I was a bit provocative, what our friend from Bosnia, what she would answer the mayor of Sarajevo, who comes and say, hey, here is the annual budget for Sarajevo city municipality. We have 20% less income from the taxi drivers. I heard there are some Uber guys who are going around whom they are paying taxes. I said, well, they're paying taxes somewhere else. And then the question was, what would you advise mayor of Sarajevo or any other city? That was left hanging in the air, this question. And I think our working group, which will meet in the Neon for 5 days during the summer, will address this issue. Is a fair summary? Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. It seems that you had a lot of fun, and yeah.
All right.
Can't wait to hear for the follow-up from Neum.
From Neum. Well, on this occasion, I would like to close the session. Before we close, I would just like to thank my co-moderator Aida, all the key discussants, reporters from the working groups, all of you guys for participating in our discussion and our little experiment at the beginning of the session. I hope you enjoyed that. Chris will be seeing you later. If he's still here, is he gone?
He's gone. Yeah.
He's gone. And also, I'd like to thank the remote participants. And our remote moderator, Oksana.
Okay. And one more thanks, because we wouldn't have the quiz if there was no Stephanie from Diplo Foundation. So just in case someone from Diplo is online, please say a huge thank you to Stephanie.
All right, so that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, and have
applause.
a great EuroDIG.
Sorry for Twitter. It's fantastic to be part of your group. Fantastic. No, because I could not copy the text, so I did image and read.
Okay, so you didn't send me anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank,